Hi, Minesh Baxi here, and thanks for watching. Today, I want to share with you the secret to rich and rewarding relationships at work and home. So, here is the booklet that I wrote quite a while ago, and some of the concepts might be familiar with you, some of the concepts may not be. But let me ask you a question. It's a very simple situation for all of us. We are in relationships, but the question for us is, how are your relationships going? Do you enjoy the relationships? Do you have challenges in your relationships? Are you struggling with any specific relationship? Now, here is my situation. I was born in India, and my accent, obviously, as you can guess, is different. I was born in the city which is called Agra, and which is where Taj Mahal is located as well. Here is what I have noticed about relationships. Relationships are never simple. I've been married for 27 years to my wonderful wife, Kim. We still have challenges, and I'm sure she may not be too excited if I shared a couple of things with you because she's more of a private person. I'm more extroverted, and I'm willing to share more openly with people. I have two beautiful children, 11-year-old boy and 16-year-old daughter, and obviously that's a relationship as well. And some of you might have known that Kim's Chinese restaurant is the one owned by my in-laws, or used to be owned because they sold that property now. And so my in-laws are locally here, so that's a relationship as well. My family, in terms of my parents, my brothers, sisters, they are pretty much all in India. My father died last year. He was almost 90 years old, but they lived in India, and my mother is still there. So the question for me when I talk about relationships is, how can I communicate about relationships to you so that your relationships are much better? Now, we all know the divorce rate is pretty high. People have challenges at work in their relationships as well. So what can we do about that? So what I want to share with you are a couple of key, simple concepts that if you applied, you will be able to see a specific change to the betterment of your relationships. Are you ready for that? So here is the first part that I would like to mention to you. Every relationship is like having a bank account. So you have a relationship with your wife or a spouse, that's a bank account, number one. You have a child, that's a bank account too. So you have different bank accounts in pretty much every relationship. Now, what do we know about a bank account? We know you can make deposits, we know you make withdrawals, and there is something called a bank balance. So here's what happens. Every day in a relationship that matters to you, in a relationship that you're involved in, especially the ones where you are close in contact on a regular basis, like work, at home, in these relationships, you are making deposits or you are making withdrawals. There is practically nothing neutral about a transaction. And that's the reason why you and I need to pay attention to what a deposit is, what a withdrawal is, and obviously how to keep the bank balance high enough. So here is the first thing you want to know about the bank balance. If the bank balance is high, the trust is high. If the bank balance is low, the trust is low. And if the bank balance goes negative kind of, then the relationship pretty much ends. So what is our goal? Our goal is to keep the bank balance high in a relationship that's important to you. Suppose you are in business and you have a client and you want to make sure that the client is going to be supporting your business for a long time. Do you not take time to find out when their birthday is, not to find out when their important events are, so that you can continue to build that relationship and keep the bank balance high? So the way to keep the bank balance high is to make more deposits and make less withdrawals. Here is the problem. We make withdrawals more than we realize quite often. What does that mean? For example, you are listening to my Indian accent, so to speak, and for you, maybe it's not a very comfortable accent. The moment you started listening to it, if you're still listening, I hope, you might be like, that's not an accent which is easy for me, and I might be making a withdrawal quite quickly, and I may not even be aware of it. Okay, so you and I are making withdrawals, and as the relationship is usually longer and more committed, your chances of making withdrawal are very high. Why? Because there are certain expectations which are not being met, and as human beings, we don't always know our own expectations, and let alone telling other people what our expectations are. So we must be making deposits. So if we make deposits more than withdrawals, the bank balance is going to be high. So my question to you is, what are you doing to make deposits? Now let me give you some examples. I like Indian food. So if you want to make a deposit into my bank account of relationship, all you have to do is take me to a decent Indian restaurant and give me vegetarian food. I'm a vegetarian. And if you and I know that and you make that effort, obviously that bank account is going to be positive. Now I remember one time one of my friends, somebody who's very successful, and before we went for lunch, I told him I'm a vegetarian, except we ended up going to a steakhouse, which is a nice fancy place, beautiful everything. But again, if I'm a vegetarian, that steakhouse is not a deposit. I'm sure he spent good money at the restaurant because he was treating me. But remember, the deposit is in the eye of the beholder. If I like Indian music, then giving me a CD or audio or some file which does not have Indian music or the music I like may not be a deposit for me, though you feel it's a deposit. So ask yourself, am I really aware of the deposits that I can make for that particular individual or a group so that they will perceive it as a deposit? Now here is the funny part. You and I work with people all day long, and if you work at a job typically where it's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I promise you most people will not know what is a deposit, what is a withdrawal for the other person who is working with you. Now to me that is shocking. Now if you and I want to have a great relationship and we want to make deposits on a consistent basis, then we must actively go find out. Now in some cases today, LinkedIn, Facebook, social media has made it very easy. So for example, somebody likes golfing and you see on their Facebook or other places that they are showing pictures of going to different golf courses. It's easy for you to figure out, oh, they must like golfing. Now quite often in Facebook, LinkedIn, and other places, people tell what they like, what they don't like. That makes it easy as well to find what the deposit is. Now if the relationship is close enough, ask them. If the relationship is important, ask them what's the deposit for them. For example, I enjoy cricket, watching cricket. I don't play much anymore, but I enjoy. So if somebody is going to be interested in listening to me, talking to me, exchanging ideas about, for example, Indian cricket team, because I was born in India, I follow the Indian cricket team, and I would find that conversation very easy, which is one of the reasons people go to these football games, baseball, basketball games together, because there is an easy way to build a bond and create that deposit. So do you know the deposits that a person should have in your particular sphere that you are, your relationships, etc.? So once you know the deposits, here is what you and I must do. We must have a plan to consistently make those deposits. Consistently make those deposits. I have a friend, Rick Ruby, who is very successful, makes a ton of money, and he teaches a very simple system. He says, make a list of 40, 50 VIPs in your life, in your business, and make a plan to make deposits on a consistent basis, whether it is monthly, having events, whether it is calling them on a consistent basis, sending out cards, etc. And I use a system called send out cards to send certain types of cards and gifts to people because I know I need to keep myself on the top of their mind and make deposits. So over a time period, they remember me more than they would remember somebody else. And if I don't make that effort, what will happen is I will lose that bank balance. The withdrawals will take place, which means the bank balance goes down. They think less of me. They don't trust me as much. And I have a problem in the relationship. So here is an important question once we know that situation. For the person who is important in your life, do you have a plan to make consistent deposits? Do you actually go out of your way to make sure in that relationship, whatever the deposit is, you are doing it on a consistent basis? So let me give you some examples. So I like to drink Indian tea in the morning. I get up, and typically I get up around 5:30 or so. And in winter, it's pretty dark in Michigan, but I make myself get up because I like early morning and I'm not a late night person. So I go make my Indian tea after coming back from the gym. And one of the things I like to do is do a little bit of the laundry. So I make sure that I'm doing something that would be a deposit for my wife. When I make the Indian tea, chai, I make some for my wife as well. Now my wife has been kind enough, and it's a supporting part for me as well, because she's not born in India. She was not born in India. She's born in US. She comes from a Chinese family. And Indian tea is obviously something they never really had before, obviously, I walked into the life, right? But her drinking a little bit of tea with me is another way of bonding for both of us. So are you actively looking for opportunities to make deposits? Do you have a plan to make that happen? Because here is what will happen. The only thing you will think of are Hallmark holidays. It's like, okay, there is the anniversary, there is the birthday, there is the Valentine's or Christmas or whatever else it is. But look for opportunities to make those deposits. And I promise you, you'll be surprised. So what is your action plan from here? The action plan is going to be make a list of people who are close to you that you really want to build a relationship with. They may be personal friends, family members, professional relationships. Now, once you have that, and you can start with 2, 3, 4, 5 people. If you're ambitious, maybe 10, maybe 20. And then write down some deposits that you know you can make for them. Like my friend Rick, he loves cigars. And there is a certain brand of cigar he likes. There is no other brand that he will take. Guess what I do? If it's an important event, I will send him cigars, that particular brand, so that he knows that I'm thinking of him. You have to seek opportunities to make deposits, because if you and I don't, it's going to be hard for us to be able to benefit from that relationship. And in case the withdrawals outweigh, then the bank balance goes down, the trust goes down, and over a time period, that relationship becomes bankrupt. And a lot of people wonder why relationships don't go well. Very simple. If you have a plan to be in good health, you go to gym, exercise regularly, eat properly. To keep relationships healthy, you must find out the deposits. You must make an effort to make deposits and become conscious of the withdrawals that you make. And over a time period, that relationship will be healthy as well. So once again, The Secret to Rich and Rewarding Relationships is a great, simple read. And if you are interested, just let me know, and I will forward the link to you to download for free. And it's just an easy read, a concept I found out from Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I love sharing this with people because, to me, a lot of people feel relationships are a mystery. But if you do the basics on an ongoing basis, you can enjoy much better relationship. I don't say that anybody's perfect. I'm far from it. My wife can tell you all my flaws, but at least I'm still married after 27 years, and I love to spend with my wife. She's my best friend, and I love spending time with my children who we homeschool as well. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.